Shalom to you. Peace be unto you. This is Rabbi. Shalom to you. Rabbi means teacher. You know, in the Bible, it's very, very interesting. It says that God, when He wanted to encourage the people, He chose certain people to be prophets. Not prophet like you make money, but prophet, someone who talks to God, and God tells them what to say to the people. He encouraged the people because He told the prophets the things that was going to happen in the future. He said, Jesus is coming. There is a man coming, a Messiah, who will save the people from all the bad things they do, and He will die for their sins and take their punishment. Well, did you know God knows the future? That's right. You might be little and you might watch bad things on the TV, but you don't have to be afraid of the future. God has the future, and He promises that Jesus one day will come back again and make everything all better in this world. In the meantime, you have to ask God, what do you want me to do to help your kingdom to come, to help your will to be done here on earth as it is in heaven? I am encouraging you to read the prophets, believe that God knows the future, and don't be afraid. This is the story of the Laguna Beach fire. Laguna Beach is a city, it's a resort vacation city on the west coast of the United States in California. And if you were looking down on the city of Laguna Beach, you would see that the ocean is very beautiful there. It comes in on a very beautiful beach, and all year round you can see people sunning themselves and playing volleyball and splashing and swimming in the ocean. And then along that beach, you could see that there's a lot of hotels and resort condominium buildings that are lined along that beach to service the vacationers. Now, beyond those hotels, there's the main highway called Pacific Coast Highway, and it runs right down the coast there. And then beyond the highway, if you're looking up in the direction away from the beach, you would see hills. As the hills went higher and higher, you'd see a lot of very expensive houses built right on the side of those hills. Beyond those hills, actually, was not a lot of people or buildings. It was a dry, grassy area with a lot of brush and a lot of bushes and that sort of thing. And so back in the 1990s, I was a resort manager in Laguna Beach. So every day I would drive to work. I would drive from inland, and I would drive through that dry, grassy area with the brush and the bushes, and I'd come to a canyon which kind of split those hills a little bit, and I would drive through it and go into Laguna Beach, and it was beautiful. And I would drive to my resort, the resort that I was managing, and I would greet my staff. Now, my staff consisted of 3 departments. There was the front desk department. Those were the people who would give the people their keys and help them as they were coming in and show them and give them information about how to have a good vacation. That's the front desk. And then there was the maintenance department. The maintenance department would take care of all the flowers and trees and things that were around the resort, and also fix anything on the resort that needed fixing. And then there was the housekeeping staff. The housekeeping staff would be the ones that would clean the rooms and give people towels and make sure everything was clean throughout the resort. Well, every day I would drive to work, and one day after another would happen, and things seemed kind of normal, and I did that for several years. But one particular day, I got to work, and things began to change. We began to smell in the air something that was kind of like it was burning. And the time would pass, and it got past noon, and it got into the afternoon, and finally, the police contacted us and all the hotels on the edge of the water and said, we are evacuating this city of Laguna Beach. And of course we said, well, why? And they explained that there had been a fire that had started very early in the morning, and it was back in the dry area beyond the city. But the wind was blowing towards the city, and the flames had gotten bigger and bigger and wider, and they knew from the wind speed that the fire department would not be able to stop that fire until it got to the city. And so sure enough, what happened after a fairly short time is, even though it was the middle of the day, the sky began to get black. And ashes began to fall from the sky that were burning ashes. And some of those houses on the hill that you could see started to burn. And so you had houses on fire, and the sky was dark, and the ashes were falling, and people in the city were kind of frightened and in a panic. But for those of us who worked at Laguna in that city, that was our finest hour. That was our greatest adventure. Because all the people that worked for me reported for duty and said, what can we do to rescue these people? And so what happened is that the one department went to the front desk and gathered all the important documents and put them in a fireproof safe that we had there. And another department would fan out and shut down all the electrical and all the natural gas lines so that the building would be safe in that way. And then another department would come with me room to room and help the people to leave. And because the people saw that we were not panicked, they remained calm. And so one by one we cleared out all the rooms and people got in their cars and one by one people left the resort and were safe. And then the most incredible thing happened. While all this was going on, one of the housekeepers, his name was Tony, he got this idea. He lived near the resort and he thought to himself, you know what, a lot of these buildings are starting to burn. How can I save the resort? How can I make sure that those ashes coming down from the sky won't gather enough to start a fire on the resort and maybe burn down the resort? So he got this idea. He went back to the resort and he took some hoses and he attached them, one hose to another, garden hoses. And then he climbed up he went up to the roof of the building. And for 3 hours, he hosed down the roof of the building so that if he saw any ashes, he would put them out. And he kept the whole roof wet for 3 hours. In the middle of all this going on, into the night he did this, until finally the wind changed and he didn't have to do it anymore. Well, months later when everything was back to normal and there was a lot of crews rebuilding the houses that had burned and people were there having their vacations again, our resort received an award for being an excellent resort because the people who we had rescued were so happy. They wrote comment cards. They wrote things in to the company that I worked for and said, you have got to recognize these people for the job they did in this hard time. And Tony got a special award. He got an award for customer service above and beyond the call of duty. It was a wonderful time. That's the story of the Laguna Beach fire. The reason I told you that story is because it kind of gives us an idea, gives us a picture of what Jesus told his disciples about the time when he's getting ready to come back to the earth and rule the earth in peace. You see, the disciples had come to him because he had been explaining that he had come to die for them and that he would die, and then there would be a time when the gospel would go out, where the good news about Jesus would go out into the world, but that he would return to rule the world in peace and harmony. And so the disciples didn't understand that, but they came to him at one point and said, Lord, can you please tell us when these things are going to happen and what are going to be the signs of your coming and of the end of the age, which means the end of the present time that we're living in, as when people kind of deal with each other the way they deal with each other now. And he said certain things. He said, well, there will be time, it will be a time when people will be fighting against people. And you will notice that there will be earthquakes in many places, and there will be famines and that sort of thing. Just kind of like the fact that the sky would be dark and the ashes would be falling and some houses would be burning. He said, but it'll be a time of your greatest adventure because the gospel of the kingdom, the gospel of Jesus Christ would go into all the world, and it'll be your chance to shine. In fact, he even said that when he comes back, it'll be just like it was with the resort, that there will be awards and rewards given to those who are faithful. And because the gospel would go out, many, many people would be rescued. Now, you might be somewhere where you're sometimes a little bit afraid about what you're hearing about in the news. Well, my advice to you is don't be afraid, because Jesus said, when these things start to happen, lift up your eyes and look up and stand straight and be strong, because your redemption draws nigh, which means that the time of his return is coming, and that this is a time for us to be strong. Because I know in my heart that if somehow I were able to go back and talk to all the people who worked for me at that resort, and I were to ask them, what do you remember most about your time working at this resort? What's the best thing you remember? I know they would say that the Laguna Beach fire was our finest hour. woke up from my sleeping and saw that I'd been weeping. So I got down on my knees right there beside my bed. I thought about him crying on the cross while he was dying, how he paid for all my punishment with blood he shed. And I said, Jesus, I do believe that you are the Son of God, and now I want to give my heart to you. If you'd like to give your heart to Jesus, just sing this song with me. Thank you, Jesus, I do. I do believe in you, that you died so that I could be saved. And as for me in return, I'll do my best to learn how to serve you for all of my days. 'Cause you said I'm coming back and we'll go there together. Yes, I'm coming back and we'll be there forever. Oh, I'm coming back, so hold on. It won't be too long. Thanks for joining us. If you gave your heart to Jesus today, we'd like to hear about it. Just visit us at BiblePop.com, BiblePop.com, and click the Contact Us button. And if you would like to help this ministry financially, go to the same place, BiblePop.com, and click the Give button. God bless you. Till next time, God loves you, and so do we.